take a look at this. This is priceless. Jobs website, right, in the UK. Nice and basic. Position for an unpaid internship as a personal assistant of, uncertain duration. But wait until you see who the advertiser is. It's an NGO based in London called Fight Against Slavery. So, sorry, what's the definition of slavery? Isn't that like unpaid labor? Yeah, right. So let's talk about Mozambique. Well, you get busted, and then you get busted, and then you get Mozambique. Did you hear about the tuna bonds, which are going to the wall this week? This is the backstory. In 2013, when they were issued, things looked good in Mozambique. The offshore oil discoveries, things going well, restructuring, golden boy of the sub-Saharan African region, growing at XYZ percentage. So what happens? They issue some bonds weirdly through the state-owned fishing company. Sounds a bit fishy to start with. And they were going to buy some fishing boats and improve the fleet and so on. Fortunately, they used the money for gunboats.
Oh, muito mal.
But look, any street moneylender in Johannesburg can tell you is that when you're dealing with a drunk uncle like Mozambique, you should start off with a very small amount. Just a small amount, and see whether he pays that one off, and then, maybe you should crank it up. No, the tuna bond was issued for a sum of $850 million.
Viva!
I'm not kidding, not 850 metakash, 850 million US. Now, of course, it's all gone into insolvency. The whole thing ended up on the Mozambican balance sheet. They've got 112% of GDP in arrears, over 10 billion US dollars, and now they're not paying. They missed a coupon payment. They want restructuring. Guys, no. Right. Did you get a call from your stockbroker or bank recently asking you for your national tax identity number? Yes? Yes, me too. The source of it all is something called FATCA, which is a US law, which stands for Foreign Account Transaction... No, hang on a bit. Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. FATCA works like this. Basically, the US government wants to know whether you are in fact American. And whether or not you are pretending to be a foreign person and then investing back in America and accordingly dodging your obligations to the Internal Revenue Service. So they're mobilizing institutions and banks and countries around the world in order to help them with their search. But basically for people who are not citizens of America, it's a massive and compliant waste of time. So I had to have a massive laugh when this week the nominee of Donald Trump to be the Secretary of the Treasury in the United States of America, a guy called Steve Mnuchin, who himself will ultimately be the person responsible for administering FATCA and ultimately the IRS, himself failed to disclose many of his foreign assets in the process of his nomination. So he's getting quizzed by senators on the Capitol Hill. And they're like, the New York Times has found you actually, for example, he's the director of an investment fund based in the Cayman Islands, a massive investment fund. That's exactly the kind of thing they're after. Or that secondarily, he had like a close to $100 million property investment fund, which including amongst many properties owns assets in Mexico, also located offshore. And a couple of other things like artwork hanging in his children's house. Oh, those assets! You mean I have to disclose those ones too? So what a joke. What a joke. FATCA. In this instance, we're about to have a big, fat, bushy-haired, red-tailed fox keeping charge and watching over the chicken coop.